Ron, thanks heaps for coming, man.
No.
And just giving me the opportunity and a bit of your time, because like you're running on what, 4 hours sleep?
Yeah. Since I got to Australia, I think I've been running about 4 hours sleep every night, but I got to get it in while I'm here.
Because you went, did you hit ABT as soon as you got back?
Yeah, had flew in on the 30th and then 30th of November and then October, and then I had 4 days, went and saw the family and everything. So we got our little girl, she's almost 3, and so she hasn't been home since she was 9 months old. So we spent about 5 days with my family up in Toowoomba, and then hit the road to the Barra Tour, and that was about as hectic as this cod fishing was. We went pretty hard, not much sleep, fished some all-nighters, and did that until the 17th, and then home for a little bit, and did a little bit more fishing and filming, and then back down here. So, and then living off 4 hours again.
You'll be less relaxed by the time you get back to the States.
Yeah, that's how I do it. I burn on both ends and then get back and get some rest. But I want that experience. I don't get to come home as much as I'd like. So
yeah, and your family would love it too, like seeing your kids and all that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah.
I guess. And then, sorry, you go.
That's super important. You know, our little girl, like my mum and my dad, my family, my sister, all my uncles and aunties, like you sort of take that for granted when they're around the corner. You know, they're 5 minutes away, and a lot of people just do that when you're living in the same town over and over, and then you go away and you realise how important that time is. So that's one of the main things is like my wife Kayla, she's unbelievable, and she just makes sure that all of my family get that time with Riv, because, you know, she's at that age where she remembers everyone and remembers grandma, you know, granddad, all of that. So we get that time in.
That's true. And like it's not easy for you, like most other places aren't too bad, but the States is like what, 30 hours a day's opposite time difference as well. In travel, just to be able to like even make a phone call from where you are is like difficult. Like it has to be timed pretty strategically, and then you're obviously training and fishing and pre-fishing and traveling heaps for tournaments and all that sort of stuff too. So
no, I've noticed it. Like I've actually noticed it more here, because you've basically got this little window here, like in the morning, you've got a couple hours to call the US, and then business is shut by 9 o'clock. It's over there, and so if you miss it, you got another full day, and so you got to get it the next morning. You got to get the business calls in, phone calls, and it's the same when I'm in the US. Everyone's trying to get to work here, and I'm just winding down the day, and so catching up with people is like you have to like make it, you know, a solid thing. Otherwise you miss everyone for a while. So you got to get it done in the morning. Definitely.
And I guess like that would have probably helped with ABT, because it would have been your daytime when you were fishing the nights, and you wouldn't have been home for long enough to catch up and your body clock to change.
So I don't really get jet lag coming this way for some reason. Like you fly out there at like 10 o'clock at night, and then you land at 5 in the morning in Brisbane. So it's sort of like you have a night, and you get, if you can get some sleep on that, you know, it's a 16-hour flight from Dallas. And then we got a 2-year-old. So that's always interesting. But we got here, and then I just get right stuck into the day. You know, just I get a workout in, go for a run, and just get into it. And I'm just right straight into back to square one. But going back that other way for some whatever reason, jet lag smashes us, and we end up, it takes 2-3 weeks just to get through it.
It's nasty. Hey, I ended up going to Alaska in August, and I was only there for like 3 or 4 days, and I had to come home, and I planned it all coming there, and then to come back I didn't really plan it because it was sort of last minute to come home, and it destroyed me for a week when I got home. But going there was fine, and you're sort of half amped up about
the excitement of one way or the other usually like gets you through it. And then when your trip's over, you're like, oh, it's over. And then you make that big flight, and then next minute you got it. And it's a weird feeling. You just get an hour sleep, and you'll wake up and be midnight still, and you're like wide awake, and you're back on Australia time.
Yeah, nasty. Did you, with ABT, like you ended up taking it out, the series, what made you even want to fish it in the first place?
So we just won one of the rounds, the overnighter. But I've fished the Barra Tour since 2009. I fished with Ian Miller, who we're here with at Mulwala, and so it's a cool event. It's a teams event, and barra fishing is obviously, like, I think it's world class. And I've been lucky to like bring a couple guys from the US bass scene over now. So Gussie has come over he's been over 3 years in a row, like he's fully hooked. And then Jacob Wheeler, who's probably one of the best bass anglers in the world right now, he came over and fished with Timmy for Rapala. So like it's pretty cool to get like our Aussie Barra sort of on the world map. But I use it as I love tournament fishing, but I do it for a living, and it's mental, physical challenge from January through to September of just non-stop. But I still like to compete, but it's like you fish with your mate. It's a lot of fun, still has that competitive deal. It keeps me on the water. I learn new techniques, and I get to promote Australia sort of on that world stage back to bass and the US sort of anglers. So I like all of those aspects of it. But my main thing is I love fishing with Gussie, and my cousins came up and a lot of our mates are there. You fish as a team. It's good fun. And the Barra are just epic. And then we get to actually compete as well. So I've fished it since 2009. Then, in and out when I've flown home at the end of the year. It works out awesome because the US scene, you're fishing from January to, September, October, and then it's sort of an off season for us. And so the Barra Tour is usually in November, so it kind of works out. And that's why we fish it.
That's unreal. I guess, and you don't get tired, burnt out from fishing bass all year in the States, and you're still happy to come over here and flog it out. And most of the ABT rounds are all night stuff.
Yeah.
So it's brutal.
Yeah.
And it's a hard fishery, those dams, to know all of them, because they all fish very differently, in my opinion.
Yep.
And to fish them well. And you don't get really the opportunity to pre-fish much, do you?
No, you get one night on each lake before it. But with technology and live and mapping and stuff, you can break it down a little bit easier now. And the cool thing about the Barra Tour, it's not, you're not doing it for the prize money's $1,500, $2,000 or something for a win. It's more about the experience. So a lot of the anglers share the info, and that's what it's all about. ABT's motto was "Who shares wins." That's what I grew up with. So I always loved sharing, my knowledge, because so many people shared it with me. That's how I got better at fishing, was guys shared their knowledge with me. And so I've always given that back. In the US, it kind of has hurt me because a little bit in some instances, because it's you're doing it for a living. You're feeding your family, keeping your home, you're making a living from that. So it's a lot more serious, and I've had to be careful with that, because sometimes I'm too open with what I've learned or what I've figured out, but I love that aspect of fishing. I never want to lose it.
I guess it's way more competitive over there too, so there is more risk if you share knowledge that's going to sort of impede you in a tournament. There's a lot more risk there for you.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people in the tournament and up and comers as well.
Yeah, your $100,000 for a win, $500,000 sometimes for the classic. There's big money in it, and so that everyone gets super secretive on that. But in saying that, I have a little group that I work with, like Brandon Polinek, Gussie, Swindle, and you need that trusted group that you can work with, and we all help each other, and that way you figure it out quicker, and it's just better to have people on your side helping. It's more fun.
Yeah, and I guess it lifts that standard too. You're all pushing each other to be better and improve and learn and all that sort of stuff. It fast tracks that, but then it also improves the tournament style aspect of it as well. Everyone's trying to be better and have that edge, and then it becomes more competitive.
Yep.
And more of a challenge too, I guess.
Yeah, and actually what's interesting is the younger guys are coming in, and they're more open to sharing now. These young guys are coming in, they're helping each other. You can just see it's changed a lot, and I think that's a good thing.
Why is that, do you reckon?
I don't know. It's just this, it's a cool thing. I think there was so much on the line back in the day. I don't know what it is, but this younger group coming in, even the older guys will talk about it, is they're just open to sharing more. I think it's social media and YouTube and things like that. But also just on the water, the stuff they say, I'm that's good stuff. And they're just openly telling you and talking to you about it. And I think that's a great thing.
I think it's healthy. I think it lifts the fishing industry as a whole, doing that sort of stuff, and it changes all that. It removes a lot of ego and all of the other toxicity that's in industries, in fishing industry, because the fishing industry is small if you compare it to other world industries. It's quite small, I think, and underdeveloped. So that's interesting. I'm super keen to understand like, because I've followed you forever basically, and when you like were fishing all those Southeast Queensland bass tournaments and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
How did you start? How did you get into fishing to go into those local tournaments? And then I get this is a massive answer for you, but like, and then what made you decide to take the jump to leap and go to the States? Because am I correct in saying you're the only Aussie over there at the moment?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's like huge risk and career path choice to do that, to take that jump. So
it's pretty much like, you know, the only reason I've really made it in a short answer is like, this is all I've ever wanted to do. I'm obsessed with fishing and the outdoors and competing, and I've just been competitive, you know, my whole life. Just in anything I do, I wanted to beat my cousins, like whoever I was going against, I wanted to beat them at something. And so when I found out that you could compete in fishing, I was like, you know, that was my passion, obsession, and then I could compete in it as well. It was sort of just two worlds like combined, and it's like been one of the toughest things I've ever done by far. Like, it's ridiculous. When I look back, I'm thinking was crazy for even thinking about doing what I was doing back then. But I've never had a plan B. There was no other option. Like, this is all I've ever wanted to do. So once I found it and started fishing ABT, I just kept stair-stepping. It was like, once I fished the tournaments, I'd set goals and like, I want to be, you know, one of the best guys. I want to win an event, an ABT event. And what I loved about it is, again, guys were sharing knowledge and I was just getting better. Like, you can fish here all you like on any lake, and if you don't have like the pressure of competition, you're not going to find the fine-tuned things. Like, one of the reasons I like fishing the Barra Tour is it amplifies everything. You come out of that such a better angler, your knots are better, the hooks, you figure out what works and what doesn't real quick, because you're not going to win if you don't have everything, you know, almost perfect. So I loved how much I was growing from 15 years old, sort of not knowing much and just wanting to catch fish, wanting to get on the water, to like now I was on the water with some of the best anglers in Australia, and they were teaching me everything and I was just growing. And so I just fell in love with it. And, you know, I have the similar story of like all my teachers telling me I was going to be a no one, wasn't going to make it if I kept fishing. They used to tell me I was going to be a stop-go guy. Like, that's what they'd tell my parents and me. And like, that's a good job here in Australia. You get paid a lot of money. So it wouldn't have been too bad, but that's what they would threaten me with if I kept fishing. And I was like, there was just nothing that was ever going to get in my way. And I sort of just kept my goals stepping up from wanting to win an event to winning it, and then wanting to win Angler of the Year. And then what happened with ABT is the grand final became an expenses paid trip to America and to compete in a tournament over there. And once I set my sights on that, and it started to get on ESPN in Australia. So I'm watching it on TV, I'm seeing how big it is. They had stadiums and the guys were driving their boats in, weighing in front of 50,000 people. And I was just like, this is crazy. I just would get sick in my stomach and to think about it. And like when I was 15, I used to watch that and get goosebumps because I was visualizing myself like being on that stage one day. And so, it was all of those things combined. But I must have been crazy because I literally, I had an awesome life here. I had a full-time job. I had my truck and boat. I had a bass boat. I'd worked my butt off. I had everything you could ever imagine in Australia. And all my family's here, all of my friends, and I gave all of it up. I sold everything I owned. I saved up for over a year. I put all my money in one go, and I literally flew out of Brisbane with a suitcase full of clothes, a suitcase full of tackle, and a rod tube. And I flew into LA, and I knew one older guy that had fished a tournament in Australia, and I met him. He was a guy that lived in LA, and I flew to his house and started fishing. And yeah, that's how it sort of started.
That's pretty incredible in itself, just to go over there by yourself. Like, I just assumed you had like a support group that went with you, or like you already had it semi set up over there to transition.
Yeah.
But obviously not.
No.
So like, that would have been pretty daunting in itself, and you would have had to, you basically started from scratch.
Yep. I'd never really caught an American bass, hadn't caught a largemouth, smallmouth, or anything like that. But I I won that trip in 2009. I won the grand final. That was my like, okay, let's see if I can win that, it would get me that taste. And I won that. And so I got to go to America for like a 3-week trip, and I fished the US Open. And like when I got there and I saw like the tackle stores and the hunting and the outdoors and how like just America like embraced the outdoors, I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. Like all the bass boats and the fishing, I just had fallen in love with it. I love Australia. I love being here, but that competitive edge and that side of things, that I just had a fire burn, and that's where I was supposed to be. And I got lucky, and like I met like guys like Casey Stoner. I've become really good friends with him. And when I first got to meet him, it was actually through Jace Wilhelm. He invited me up there. They were fishing, and Casey was like, you have to leave Australia if you want to go further than what you're going to go. And he gave me like sort of that confidence boost. It was when I was like deciding whether I should just stay here, keep my house, buy a house, do what was the Aussie dream, get a house. I had a full-time job, work my way up, and I had to decide whether I was going to do that, which was a pretty safe route, or go the most riskiest way you could possibly go. And having that conversation with Casey and talking to him and sort of other athletes that had like peaked in Australia, I found that they couldn't go any further. They'd done everything. Now they had to move to America or Europe or somewhere to like get their career to the next level. And that's kind of what I did. But I literally, there was 0 footprints in front of me. There was no help, no one guy there, and I hit every brick wall you could imagine hitting. And the only thing I did was I didn't quit. That was it.
That seems to be the mantra of a lot of successful people, is just don't stop.
Yep.
And like if you don't allow yourself to stop, you always win.
Yep.
Like essentially one way or the other.
It's a good one. Like, yeah, you like I heard one the other day, like he was like, the trick is you can't lose. You actually can't lose. If you just keep going, you won't lose. You'll end up getting it. But most people just can't get over that edge. Like it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. It could be 10 years. If you just keep going, you're going to get what you want to get. But you have to have that passion. I find most people find what they love. It's hard to find what they actually truly love. My luck came from, I found something that I loved more than anything like that I could imagine. Like I found a passion where I was like, all I want to do is this. And if you don't have that, if when it gets hard, you're going to quit because you don't love it enough. But when you find that thing that you love and you want to do, you just go after it with everything you got, and you just keep losing and keep losing. And I used to feel a little bit of not resentment, but like I used to be like, wow, why is all this happening to me? Like I always had the bad luck, always hit the brick walls, was always getting turned around. And I'm like, all I could see was everyone succeeding. It was a weird feeling, like everyone was crushing it and killing it, and I just couldn't get there. And from where the standpoint I am now, it's easy to say, but I just thank God that I had all of those brick walls. I love that happened to me because it built me to who I am. If I didn't have them, I don't know who I'd be. I wouldn't have a story. I wouldn't be here talking with you, talking with young kids, and actually having a story to when they tell me they're thinking about quitting, I have a story to tell them why they shouldn't. And it's super cool.
Do you think that because you've built that the way you've built it is like you're seemingly obligated to help lift the next generation and all that sort of stuff with that sort of mindset? Because I think a lot of people lack that grit, and I guess that's where Fear My Heart comes from, right? The underdog and all of that sort of stuff.
Yep.
So like, do you think that, have you created like an obligation within yourself to then share that knowledge and keep lifting people up?
Yeah, for sure. That's like my thing over bass fishing and career-wise, like the Fear My Heart mantra that came to me it was like 2012, 13. It's what helped me get over that hump, because I learned that I didn't have the talent, I didn't have the experience as everyone on the US, I didn't have all of these things. And so when you don't have them, you think, well, it's impossible. And I've been told that it's impossible, and I started to think that maybe it is impossible. And then I heard a story of like the guy, one of the toughest jobs in the world is to make the Navy SEALs. It's one of the hardest things you can probably do in this world. And the guy, this recruiter, he said, the guy that makes the Navy SEALs is never the most talented, never the strongest, never the fittest. best. He said it's the guy with the most heart. And that was the only sentence that I needed to hear. And I was like, well, I've got that. And that just kept me going. It kept me pushing to the next level and just kept getting up. That was the biggest thing. I just kept stepping up, and I just love talking to people because you see how easily we get broken now. Like, it's just that something happens and we quit, and that's what I see so many people doing. And I'm like, just who cares that you come last? Most people are scared of losing. And like, from me, I've made it to the best anglers in the best top 100 anglers in the world in the US. Coming home, people are like, why are you going to fish the Barra Tour if they beat you or whatever? They're going to be like, oh, they beat Carl or something. I'm not scared of losing. I'm going to jump in it, and I like to lose because I'm going to learn when I lose. And so that's a big thing, is like, you can't be scared of losing. I've lost like this thousands of times. You just keep losing, and then eventually you win.
And it's that like little that. Even losing gives you momentum, and that's what a lot of people don't realize. I find that people either don't start at all, aren't willing to take the leap, or they take the leap and quit before they get that momentum.
Yep.
And it can compound like over time, or it can happen like immediately. Like, one good decision can lead you to winning a tournament.
Yeah.
Even the mindset of like, I'm not going to lose, or like, if I'm losing, I'm still learning. That, I think, plays into you manifesting and making the right decisions long term.
Yep.
I think that's a huge part of it. What's the closest you've come to quitting on your journey?
Yeah, I've had a bunch. So I fished 2010, 2011, 12, 13, and 14, and I never made the elite. So I had 4 solid years of literally getting destroyed. And like, I went broke in that process because there's huge entry fees. I was flying in and out. I was trying to get a green card, a visa, and literally all the money that I'd saved up in my truck, my boat, my life savings, I sold everything, and I went through it in a couple years, and like, I just had no money, and it just cost so much, and so I fought my way to keep coming back. And back to your question, but a good one is like, what I found is I chased my dreams so hard, and I didn't ask anyone for help. But when you go after something, people are going to step into your life and help you, but they're not going to until you show them that you're willing to go to the very end. And when they saw me go to the end, and I was like, I'm broke, I'm done, I'm going to come home, someone always stepped in and just gave me a breath of life to like go again. And that kept happening. And I made it. I got all the way to 2014, and then I made the top 100 guys in the world. So that was kind of the pinnacle for me. I was like, if I'm the first Australian to make the top 100 guys, like, I'll be set for life. And I thought that was the end cap. Like, if I make it there, everything's going to be sweet. And what I didn't realize is like, hadn't even scratched the surface. Like, things got hard for me when I actually made the top 100 guys. The entry fees are $50,000 for the year. The competition literally went from like high school football to playing in the NFL. Like, that's what, like, it went from like that big of a jump. And so in 15 and 16, I just got destroyed. And the end of 16, I got kicked out of the elites. So I'd fought my whole life to make what my ultimate dream was, to make the Bassmaster Elites. And within 2 years, in the blink of an eye, I was out, and I was $60,000 in debt. I had 60 grand worth of credit card debt racked up, and I'm in the top 100 guys in the world. Like, this is when I sort of learnt the hard way the whole way through. And I'm like, how is this possible? And so the last event of 2016, I knew I was out, and I had to go home. But I was so lucky that that's when I met my wife, Kayla. And like, I was literally down and out. I didn't know what I was going to do. And, you have mentors in your life. And I had a guy, Gene Eisman, his name was, and he just had supported me through that sort of 13, 14, making the elites. He was an American that had just got behind me, and like, he was one of those guys that like, every time I was almost out, he stepped in and helped me. He paid for fuel when my credit card didn't work anymore, just these little things. And we were in Australia actually, and I found out I'm definitely not in the elites, and I was here with my wife Kayla, and I'm just like, all of my dreams were gone. And he sent me this message, and he said, this is what he like sent me a text, and he's like, this is what you're gonna do. And he actually wrote out the post that I was gonna make on social media. He's like, you're gonna fish a FLW tour. He's like, I already rang Bill, they will let you in, you'll get better, you'll make it back through the opens. And he like wrote this thing out because it was so daunting on me for me to have to tell everyone like, hey, my dream's like over and I might stay back in Australia, I'm going to go home or whatever it was. But between Kayla telling me like, you know, she has believed in me from the start and just getting behind me, and she's like, whatever you do, I'm going to be with you. So having that support, and then friends like Gene and other people out behind me. And so I just put that out there, and I just sent it, said, hey, I'm out of the elites, but I'm going back. And that was like the closest where I was like, if I didn't have those people, I could have easily chosen the wrong way to go, and I could have quit. So that's why keeping really good people around you is super important, and meeting people. And when you meet the right people that want to see you succeed, you better keep them around. And that's what I did. I fished the FLW tour. I got better. I made it back into the elites in 2019, and then I fished 19, had a pretty tough year, and then the last tournament of the year I won, and I won $100,000 US, won the blue trophy, and our career and our life has been lifted from there.
That's a pretty incredible story, man. That's insane.
But in that little gap, that's 3 years of like grinding again, like 16 to 19, like that's doing the same thing, trying, just going and going and going and not making it, but just boom, it can happen overnight, eh?
Yeah, and that's literally like, you just got to be, you're never going to give yourself those opportunities if you're not in the thick of it.
Yep.
And you have to be trying to continually making those decisions. And I think like anyone that says they're self-made, I don't think there's 100% truth to anyone's story that says they're 100% self-made themselves.
Yep.
Yeah, you've done 99% of the work and you've put yourself in the positions and all that sort of stuff. But like whether it's your partner or your friends or someone else that's backing you, or even just someone sending you a text message and saying you've got this. Like, I don't think anyone that's gone through some and is successful has done it solely themselves.
Yep.
And I think like
100%.
That's pretty incredible. And just the fact that you did it from nothing over here and just went, I'm going to go over there and try and be a Bassmaster champion is insane. How has your career changed from, obviously you're more noticed and respected in that industry and in the tournament scene over there and all that sort of stuff, but how has it changed for you in regards to like how you fish now? And because the spotlight's on you, right? Like there's cameras everywhere, the people following your socials, all that sort of stuff. How has that changed how you fish and how you present yourself and all that sort of stuff?
It's you're constantly growing, you're constantly, learning. But that win from 10 Killer, that was the turning point for our life. That everything changed from there, and we were able to just continue to grow. But just taking the pressure off yourself. That like the financial thing, what people think, thinking about people that told you couldn't do it, that's all giant weight on your shoulder while you're trying to chase like a fish, or you're trying to compete in a sport. You can't have that weight on you. It's hard because you're competing against guys that have made it and are making money and are just crushing it, and then you're just praying you get a check to get through the next week. And so taking the weight off of all of that was a big deal, and I can actually like enjoy myself. The pressure's always there, but I love competing. I want that pressure. I like it, but it's not that like nasty pressure of like wondering whether you're going to make it to next week. That really was the sucked part of like what I did, and we went through a lot of years of it. But that gives you the appreciation, and then it gives you the breath of fresh air to be like, we're not in that, and it actually makes you work harder because you hear those guys like when they had no money, they're like, I work hard now because I know how that feels back behind me. I don't want that anymore. I don't want that feeling anymore. So I actually work harder now than I ever have. I just work a bit smarter, but I don't want to go back to what we had. So I'm always like just appreciative, and grateful, that's such a big word. Like, just being grateful for stuff instead of like getting caught up in that you've got to make it and you've got to have this and you've got to have that. Just being grateful for where you're at and the chance to compete and the chance to do it. If you just do that, you'll have a better time chasing it. If you're always just you're worried about that you don't have. I was a little bit always looking to, that guy has that, I want that, what that guy has, and instead of just looking like, look what we're doing, I'm the only Aussie, I got Kayla with me, we're traveling the US, I'm competing on the elites. Sometimes you let that catch up and you don't appreciate those times. You look back, you're like, they were cool times.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same in a different aspect. Like I look at myself now, I'm like, I'm not as far ahead as I want to be, or I'm not as set up as I want to be, or as successful as I want to be, and all that sort of stuff. But then you stop and you look backwards and you're like, holy shit, I've come a long way.
Yep.
And sometimes you need that when you're having those moments where you're just like a little bit flat and everything, and you look back and you go, I've actually achieved a lot, and a lot more than most.
Yep.
Just by like put your head down, ass up, and then removing all that negativity, like you say, having the opportunity to put it to the side helps a lot. Yep. It's just another piece of your mental that's gone, I guess.
Yep.
Did you, when you first came to the States, did everyone not take you seriously, like all the tournament anglers over there? Or was there a few dudes that were like, I'm going to keep an eye on this just because he's like,
no one risk? Like, no one knew who I was. Like, yeah, no one knew at all anything about me. I was just some kid. And so that it took me a long time to get in front of anyone, to get any American sponsor to look at me, and get the respect off the anglers. I did it the right way, which is just putting my head down and letting like what I do, talk, and I wanted to make sure I represented Australia like as good as possible. I wanted, like, when competitors or America or Bassmaster or anyone's thought about an Aussie, they thought of good things, because I'd seen it done the wrong way before, and I didn't want that. I want people to be like, yeah, the Aussies are cool, this is what they want, and I wanted to make Australia proud. So that way was a hard way, because there was no shortcutting when you do that way. You have to do things the proper way all the way through, and it only takes one little thing for your reputation or anything to go wrong. So like, it's always like, you always have to be like going down the line, doing it the right way, being respectful on the water. And it took probably 10 years for like anyone, like for me to really get that respect from my competitors and everyone over there. And like, even now, this is my first year where like I really feel like we're taking off. Like since 19 it's been good, but like they're constantly watching you, keeping an eye that this is the way you're going to go and this is who you are. And then the big sponsors and big companies are like, that's who we want to be with. And I'm only just seeing that over the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I guess like it's a longer road to achieve it that way. It's a longer road than just going and kicking up a stink and acting like a dickhead and throwing the ego in there and like stirring the pot so you get noticed in that way.
Yep.
But it's also like way more risky that way, to just drop off and become irrelevant like overnight.
Yep.
And have half the bloody place hate you.
Yep.
Whereas like the road you've taken is like a longer, slower grind, but more worthwhile in the long run, I guess. And now you've essentially cemented yourself over there as an elite tournament angler.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, like just the scale of that blows my mind. Just trying to comprehend that, because it's a very, when someone explains something like this, like it's easy to say that in a few sentences or paragraphs and put it together, but the actual like day to day from 20 whatever till now is like an incredible journey of ups and downs.
Yeah,
it's insane.
It's a long time.
Holy. In regards to the fishing itself, like massive learning curve, I assume.
Yep.
What was that like for you going over there when you first started, and like talking bass specific, when you first started trying to understand fisheries over there?
So the Aussie fishing helped me. I was 26 when I left, and I grew up catching Murray cod, barra, our Australian bass, yellow belly, and then did a lot of saltwater fishing, brim, and then saltwater barra up north. So like Aussie anglers are really good all-round anglers. We don't particularly just chase one species. And so that all-round just loving fishing and doing all types of fishing helped me over there, because the largemouth bass and the smallmouth, they do a bit of everything. Like if you combined all of our species, they kind of do everything. They live around the whole country, and then they live in every part of the water, and they just do different things at every lake. So the learning curve was steep, and it took a long time, and I'm still learning. You never know it all in fishing. I don't care who you are, you're never going to learn and know it all. You always have to stay on top of it, and that's like that's been one of my biggest things, is like I'm a sponge when it comes to knowledge. If someone's talking fishing, I soak it in. I don't ever think I know it all. I'm always keen to learn, and this is why we're fishing here with Jack and doing stuff. Like, I just love seeing other people fish, seeing how they do stuff, and I'm always putting little things in my arsenal. And that's how I had to be in America. Anyone that would tell me anything or take me fishing, I'm going. And I was going, and I was soaking it in and learning. And I still do that today. And so it took a long time, but probably around that 2015, after 5 years, I started to get it, started to do it. But when you're competing against the best in the world, your learning curve goes through the roof. It has to, because you can't lose. When you don't miss a check or whatever, it's costing you $5-10 grand at a time. It's crazy. So you better get good quick.
That's crazy. The amount of money over there it blows my mind. Two scenarios, like if you started on American bass, smallmouth, largemouth, whatever, and built your understanding of those fish that way, versus what you've done essentially and fished all through Australia, fished Australian bass, then come across and brought some of those skills over. Would you have a preference? Like if you had a crystal ball and said you could choose?
Yeah, of what sort of skill set you'd have?
Yeah.
Well, our fish are less pressured here, and it's both pretty similar. But like America, obviously, you become a better angler there because of the pressure. There's so many people, and it's so big, and there's so many like just different ways you have to like refine it to the slightest. Like the little minute things make the biggest difference in the US. So the reason we won the overnight Barra Tour, we come first, second, third, and 15th in the Barra Tour, and like I've been home for 2 years, and I don't fish for Barra that often, but like that skill set that I've learned in the US helped us on the Barra here. So like that's a big deal, just how much you fish over there and how like finer the details are, and it's just bringing something new either way works really well. So we were sort of on top of our game with the technology, and it worked on the Barra. So
that's crazy. Yeah. And I think like a lot of people don't like cross over, like they do, but they don't think about it.
Yep.
And I think there's like something to take from every species and every fishery and apply it to other fisheries as well. Yep. Even overseas. Like I feel like there's huge value in doing that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think like that's a massive asset. How have you found the cod fishing here in the last, you've been here 2 weeks?
Yeah. Well, I've only been here since for 3 days down south cod fishing, but this is the best spot for a podcast I've ever done. That's for sure.
It's specky,
and, yeah, it's beautiful, and we have a little cabin here. It's sort of like a bit of a birthday trip for me through Ian Miller with Miller Rods, and we're fishing with Jack Hosking, which he's one of the only guides I think on Mulwala, and he's a freak. He's an animal.
He is.
He Murray cod is probably my favourite fish of all time by far. That's what I grew up catching as a kid, and I've caught some big ones, and like just some of the trips with my mates in southeast Queensland, going over to New South Wales, but I've never actually fished down here in Victoria and South New South Wales. So first time on Mulwala and Eildon, and fishing with Jack and Ian, and we've caught a couple of nice cod already. No giants, but that's the goal over the next couple of days. But this is world class. This is what I love to like. I've got an opportunity to where like I have a pretty big US audience through social media now, and I've been able to bring some guys over from America to experience our Barra fishing. But the Murray cod is just as good, because you have similar rods and reels, lake fishing or river fishing, cast and swim baits, big top waters, big glide baits, all of the cool stuff. And like, I just know like Americans would pay a ton of money to come and experience this. Like we have the best fishing in the world. It's only sort of known in Australian circles sort of thing, like the Aussies do it, but outside of the country, people know about it, but it's really hard for them to come and do it. But I'll be putting Jack's name out there a little bit to try and get him some business from the US, because he'll be good for him.
He's a fishing nut too.
Yeah.
Like, there's nobody more addicted to it. Like anytime, like even when he's on holidays, he's thinking about fishing.
Yeah.
Like he's incredible. And he's one of those people that are like hyper analytical, bit on the spectrum.
Yeah.
As most people like us are, I would say.
He's figuring, every little detail, like he's thought of it. So it's been good. I've learnt a ton from him, and that's why I like fishing with different people and being able to fish different stuff, because I take stuff back from fishing in Australia back to the US, and that different style often helps me there.
Yeah, well, some of the largemouth, like if it's super basic high level view from my perspective, it's like some of the largemouth eat cod-sized swim baits.
Yeah, they
which
do.
I think is insane.
Yep. All the swim baits and stuff Jack's using are all largemouth bass, cod, they're ideal for the cod. So that's probably the closest thing. A big largie is probably the closest thing to a Murray cod that we have. But it's just fun to tell like guys in the US that the cod get to 100 pound or whatever, and but it's like bass fishing. They're like, what? Yeah. And then you show them the swim baits, and like on Eildon, I'm spewing. I didn't get a video of it, but there was a carp still alive, and the thing was like had to be 7-8 pounds, I don't know, and it was just full descaled, still alive, and just had cod marks in it. And I was like, yeah, our swim baits aren't even that, they're half that size, and the cod tried to eat a big carp, so they're a wicked fish.
Yeah, well, Kish from Bait Religion said he was throwing something that was like 17 inches.
Yeah.
And it's 17 inches and under 10 grams or something.
Yeah,
it was.
yeah.
Some weird thing that he's trying, and he said he's caught cod on it and stuff, which is crazy. But even just like, they're really pretty fish, I think, and where you catch them too, like not even irrespective of lakes, you can get like 60 to 100 pound fish in river systems, and you can fish them land-based, some of them too, like in the skinny water, like all the Murray system and all that sort of stuff, which is
good for everyone, good for kids, fishing off the riverbank, camping. You can catch them on bait. You can start from there, and then you can go all the way to start, get your first top water bite off a cod, and you'll be hooked for life. That's what happened to me. And then, come right through to using technology and using big swim baits and the high-end gear and bass boats. Like, cod fishing is cool.
Yeah. Did you cut your teeth on cod, on wild river cod, or lake or dams, or mix? And
a bit of both. Yeah, I had Kubi Dam, which was 20 minutes from Toowoomba, and then or Highfields where I grew up, and then we would go out to the Severn or the Severn River and fish like the western rivers of Queensland, New South Wales. So
summer frogging and all that.
Yeah,
sort of stuff.
We'd frog and top water and just camp out there and go hunting and fishing. It was just that hunting and fishing with my mates out on the river camping. That's what got me addicted to all of this. Like, that's what I love to do.
And getting paid to do it's like at the next level, especially over there with the prize pools and stuff.
Yeah.
And just made me think of it then, like hunting, not a super new thing to yourself, but like you started doing a bit more over there, I've noticed, and getting into elk season and all that sort of stuff. So tell me about that.
Yeah, that's been a dream, like as an Aussie kid, and even over there, I used to look at them like, imagine one day like hunting an elk with a bow, like how crazy would that be? And then like it seemed like, again, impossible to me, and I was like, I don't know how I'm ever going to make that happen. And then somehow, some way, just having that in my thoughts and wanting to do it. I'm on my 4th year of hunting elk in Idaho and Montana, and I shot my 4th elk this year, 2nd with a bow, and yeah, it's been a dream. I'm fully all in on that. It's the next level to fishing. I love it. All of September, I just want to be in them mountains. It's pushed me way past my like comfort level and where I've really wanted to go. Grizzlies, mountain lions, wolves, all the good stuff. And I'm just lucky to meet a couple guys that, again, have taught me, helped me, taken me to the spots, shown me stuff, and taken me, like, my hunting's gone through the roof because of it, because of public land, North Idaho. It's rough, tough, hard country, hard to kill an elk there, and then open. And the biggest thing for me is like we open our freezer and it's full of elk meat and we eat that all year long, and that's like big for my family. We're big into our health and fitness, looking after ourselves, feeling good, and that meat is like everything. When we pack that out, like, you appreciate every bite.
Yep, 100%. And then when you sit down and you share that, like, I think and it's been said 1,000 times, but sitting down and sharing that meat with people that you care about, but being able to tell the story about where that meat came from.
Yep.
And then when you're packing out, it feels shit. Like,
the
whole process is, you're and hungry, thirsty, sick of eating dehydrated meals.
Yeah.
Like it's all just awful. And then you get back and you finish and you go, when are we going again?
Yeah, exactly.
It's insane. We were talking about this earlier, but like the value in, I assume it's the same with what you do with like, it's hard to have a routine when you're pre-fishing, you're traveling, all of that sort of stuff. So controlling what you can control is highly valuable. And I think like diet's a huge part. And I do the same because I'm traveling so much, is like trying to eat good foods, trying to sleep well, even if it is a little amount of sleep in a different bed.
Yep.
And then trying to stay fit and all that sort of stuff. How do you think that adds value to what you're doing?
Yeah, that's one thing that I've sort of tackled a little bit differently to everyone, is I've treated bass fishing like any professional sport. If you look at someone that has made it to the top level of any other sport, their steps has been about the same as mine. Like that, I've done all of that. It's just funny, like bass fishing, you're not probably going to make tens of millions of dollars. It's just not quite there. Like there is good money. You can make millions of dollars. It takes a long time and you've got to get into that top like 1% of guys. But that's what it's taken for me to get there. And like my fitness and health and all of that has helped me stay on the water longer, stay sharper. But you know, I do it for a competitive side, but I do it for how I live life side. Like just how you're thinking and how life is going for you has a direct, you know, thing of what you're eating, how you're working out, all of these things. It's just, we've realized like how important it is. America, the food is pretty wicked, not good in a way,
Nasty.
But you have to chase the good stuff. And it's same in Australia now. It's happening. You have to go after that good food and look after your body. Otherwise you just get sick. And we've just seen it over and over. And now we're just like, we keep climbing to the next level. And for us now, it's just eating as clean as we can and eating wild game like elk. That's so, nutrient dense for you. It's just, you feel different and you appreciate the food. You know, that's the biggest thing. But that has helped. You know, I've done it for a competitive side since I was younger. I got lucky that I had an uncle and auntie that got me into health and fitness when I was a kid. And if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have understood what it was like. So I always tell people how important it is that if you're into fitness and you're into health or food, if someone's kid's looking at you, like take them under your wing, take them on a workout, take them on a run, because that's who I was. And they just made me do it. And then it turned me into a life of like living well and healthy and fit and understanding it. But if they didn't do that, I didn't have anyone else that would have taught me that, and who knows where I'd be. So that path is it's a big one, and I love telling people about it. I love teaching people, and I love seeing people turn their lives around from like eating bad and doing all the bad stuff and feeling down to like getting fit, getting healthy and feeling good, mental clarity, and then chasing their dreams. There's a lot comes with all of that.
A lot of it comes into, like you just said, like all aspects of life. I think like a lot of it comes from the physical. Like if you're physically fit and stuff like that, you look good, you feel good, you're more willing to make better decisions, and the diet reinforces that, because like, and what I was saying earlier was like, I don't get consistent sleep pattern. I'm sleeping in foreign beds all the time. I'm on planes, all that sort of stuff. So like I try and optimize, like I mouth tape to sleep, for example. I always try and eat super clean. I'm eating fruit and a lot of stuff like that, and trying to like balance my diet as best I can just to be mentally optimal when I do travel, because I can't control when I sleep, how long I sleep for a lot of the time, and all that sort of stuff. And I think that's hugely valuable, especially for you, because people don't think fishing is a physical sport, but it's immensely physical when you're standing on a hot deck of a boat all day on your feet, and your mental, like the visual staring at screens, staring at the water, and then the mental constantly ticking. Especially from yours would be next level compared to just recreational fisheries, just trying to constantly tick over and what's my next plan, what's the next step. And thinking about all that, like you get off the water from a recce day and you're cooked. And I could only imagine what it is from you, like on a tournament day. And you got to think about tomorrow. And then you back it up and do it tomorrow. Like some of the days we have 15, 16-hour practice days. And you do that 3 days in a row. And it can be in the high 30s, 40s. And then the tournament starts. And then you can have 4 days of tournaments. And then sometimes we have back-to-back events. So you literally have 2 weeks of, 8 to 15-hour days on the water. And like you said, like,
we get off the water here, we're fishing pretty casual, have a bit of a chill, have lunch. There's none of that on the elites. It's go, go, go. And you better love it more than anything, because that's when you'll find out if you like it or not.
That's where it gets real. And there's like no fun until you get to the point where you can get comfy in it and sort of work your way up the ranks. That's crazy. Do you think there'd be value, and we talked about this the other day too, it was like with ABT here, even just the barra side of it, do you think that there would be value in I'll reference what you said earlier about like it not being, Australian fishing not being promoted, like it's one of the best fisheries in the world, the whole country, and it's not very well promoted. Do you think there'd be value in ABT, for example, having live stream cameras and video put on it to like promote that fishing? And do you think you would get more international anglers over for tournaments or create its own tournament, things like that? Yeah,
for sure. Like the barra fishing is world class. That's why like I love promoting it. And Jacob came over this year, and he had his videographer with him filming the whole thing. But there sparked a little bit of interest in Bassmaster, like, hey, we should send live cameras over. And it would be big in Australia, it would help, but we all sort of see it here, you know, on a daily basis if you want to look at it. But for overseas and getting that bigger picture, I think having like 5 cameras and a live deal and showing barra fishing through the day and the jumps and how hard the fight is and the heartbreak of them chewing you off or breaking you off or busting 50 braid or breaking the lure, breaking your outfits, there's nothing quite like it. And there's something to that for sure. I'd like to see it go that direction.
That'd be crazy, because you could do, and it's just my brain ticking, like you could do your barra and you can do your cod. The lakes and dams aren't as big as over there, obviously, but you could have like a really bespoke tournament with just select anglers and open it up to international competitors. It'd be wild, man.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. I can see something really cool, sponsors getting behind that and doing something with it in Australia for sure.
Yeah. Couple more questions because we're nearly at the hour and you need to have sleep. I'm super keen. Only because I know the story, is the last day of the ABT here. You nearly lost it. To some younger dudes that dropped a fish. How did the last, I don't know, whatever, 4-6 hours of that tournament play out?
So we won the all-nighter barra tour here, and that's a session. It's the only one I've ever done like it, and I've done it every ABT tour that we've done. It goes from 4 o'clock in the afternoon till 8 o'clock the next morning, and so you're fishing for 16 hours, I think it is, straight, and Gussie and I got in the lead. It's a live scoreboard, so you can see it as you enter your fish on the mat. It pops up, and so like by about midnight, we had a pretty decent lead on everyone. So we were like, we got a shot to win here. So we never stopped casting all night, and just so happened the next morning at like 7 o'clock, we're due in at 8. We got close to the Ward brothers. They're from up north, and we're like, I think that they're the boys that are in second, and they were 1 centimeter behind us, and we're like, we're trying to catch a barra, they're trying to catch a barra, they're within talking distance, and they lost like a 105, and we end up beating them by a centimeter. But it was heartbreak for them, but we were like, whew, we had sweat running down.
Snuck in.
It's a ton of fun. Those boys were awesome. We got to meet a bunch of new guys up there this year, and you know, they were stoked. We're second, happy for us. That's what I love about the barra tour.
Yeah, it seems like that way. Like it seems a little bit clicky from the outside looking in, but anyone that's in there that I've spoken to says it's like super welcoming. Everyone's super friendly and shares, and there's always those odd couple of people that sit by themselves and stuff and keep everything in house. But that's it's mostly pretty open.
It's a very social event, open. Everyone just wants to see everyone catch barra.
Do you ever think you'll come back to Australia and muck around with? You probably don't have time to or the opportunity to, but do you ever think you'd come back to Australia and muck around with bass again here?
I shot a thing for Shimano this time over, and we went to Somerset. My cousin Matty Langford, he guides on Somerset and Boondoomer and a bunch of lakes around there, and I got out with him and we caught a bunch of bass. Like I'm still Australian bass is really what got me to here through ABT, and so I still have a special spot for Aussie bass for sure. But I've always thought like one day I would love to like somehow pick up my truck and boat from the US and put it in Australia and have all of my tackle, you know, because my tackle is ridiculous now, but it's so so hard to bring over. I got a suitcase and I bring a bit of stuff over to try on the Barra. But one day I'd love to just somehow get that over here and then like travel Australia and be able to come down here and fish for cod, fish for Barra with like a bunch of the sort of, you know, American sort of style stuff that we have there. We get to do a little bit, and it's really filtering into Australia. You can see it's having a big influence from the Japanese side and the American side and the largemouth bass, big swim baits. It's all coming in, but this time home, if I've already caught a cod. I've caught 2 nice, you know, decent ones. None over a metre. But if I catch a metre here with Jack, I'll have caught. We had an epic bass session at Somerset. I caught my biggest yaller. It was just over 10 pounds.
I did see the photos.
Yeah,
that's
giant
big,
yaller.
Man. Yeah.
And then I caught some Saratoga, and then so got 3 of those species. Then went up and the Barra tour was the best Barra fishing I've ever had. Like, we were averaging 30 fish in a session, and the night we won, we had over 35 fish and 30 of them were over 90. And then I've come down here cod fishing. So in 6 weeks, I've packed a lot of stuff in and caught some pretty epic Aussie iconic species. So it's been an awesome trip home.
Are you planning on doing any, you probably won't get time this trip, but are you planning on doing any hunting in Australia over the next few years or whatever?
Yeah, that would be the next step. I grew up in Queensland with red deer, and that's who sort of got one of my mentors up there, friends, they got me into red deer hunting, and so that was where sort of the elk and stuff sparked, because it's very similar. And then I used to go pig hunting and all that with my mates out west, but now pretty solid into the bow hunting. That's all I want to do. I'm like addicted to that. So being down south here, seeing the sambar deer and seeing the reds down here. So one of these trips I'm going to get away. Hope like the winter seems to be when it goes down for the cod fishing as well. So one day, hopefully, send my bow over with me and do it, you know, maybe a week cod fishing and a week hunting or something like that.
Yeah.
But I got lots to do in Australia, so I definitely want to come back and spend some good time here, you know, just doing different types of hunting and different types of fishing and seeing more parts of Australia, because I really like living here for 26 years. I've done a lot, but there's lots more to do and see.
Yeah, I don't think you could ever see all of Australia. Like, people don't understand how big it is and how ecologically diverse it is.
Yeah.
And like it's an incredible country with an incredible fishery, an incredible like feral game, native wildlife, landscapes. Like everything is so different.
Yeah, it's the outdoors hunting and fishing is unbelievable.
We're gonna lose a bloody light here in a minute. Not crazy.
Good.
Most memorable memory. Let's just say memory in elite bass in the States.
Probably winning 10 killer. That was the big one for me, winning the Elite Series event there, because we were sort of like, we'd been there 9 years, you know, really grinding and just trying to make it. And, you know, that final day, it was my 35th birthday, and you know, we were getting married a week later, and we were trying to buy this little piece of property. We're trying to, like, we'd been staying in people's sheds, we'd been sleeping on people's couches, we'd been living in the back of our truck. I mean, we'd been grinding from the bottom, just trying to like work our way up, and we were trying to buy this little property that had a shop on it. It was perfect, and just the way things worked out, we couldn't buy it. And like the last week before 10 killer, I had to tell the people like, hey, we can't buy it, and we were sort of just like down. And then like a week later, we were getting married up in Idaho, which was awesome, but like we were still scratching the bottom of the barrel, getting through, and then just bang, just like, God, it was just like storybook stuff, like just insane day I'll never forget. And won that, and you know, life was awesome before that, but it was you know, you're going through those things, and at the time you wonder why and stuff, but I see now. But yeah, since then it's been pretty cool. That was a big turning point in our sort of life and career.
As the Australian hunting scene, fishing scene, blew up when they seen you with that blue trophy. I just remember it being everywhere, and like when like my old man was a religious follower of you in the scene over there, and he used to send me the live links to continually watch it all, like on Bassmaster and all that sort of stuff. And he said, "Oh, Carl's in the top 10 or something." I can't remember what day it was, but I remember sitting down and I remember watching you win, and I remember watching the weigh-ins. Yeah. And like I remember just the socials feed was just chockers with you holding that trophy and stuff. So like I think you've got a lot of backing over here that you don't actually know, that like people that back you. And I think it's because you've gone about it the right way. You've done the hard things. You've done it with respect and dignity, and you've put in the work and you've been through all that hard. So that trophy's worth so much more than someone, in my opinion, that took the easy route or even was living in America. You know what I mean? Like, been fishing bass their whole life. For you to go over there for a very short period of time when you take into account how like a fishing career would go and win it that way is incredible, I think.
No, the Aussie support has been awesome, and that, like, one of the things I love about coming home is like I don't get to see it as much through socials because I don't live on it, and you sort of see comments and stuff, and I love the support. But when I get here and then like guys, tell me stories like that, or have my jersey or have a t-shirt, and they love Fear My Heart, and they tell me about where they were when I won 10 killer or a story about it, and it like gives me a lot of energy. I'm just like, oh, this is awesome. Like the Aussie support has been massive, and it's just only grown. And I was actually worried about losing that. I was like, oh man, I've been fishing and competing in Australia for 10 years and I've done a lot, and I was thinking I'll just be forgotten about here if I went to America. But it was funny. It was like went the other way, and everyone sort of got behind me. And obviously had your people that hoped you didn't do good, and that it was funny.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, we were talking about before. I was going to tell you like my driving force for a long time were the people that told me that I couldn't do it, and I was like, I can't let them be right. So that would get me up. And then these days, it's the people that want me to do well. That's who motivates me, and that's who gets me. I get up in the morning for my family and my little girl, and the people that actually want to see me succeed. It's like the other people are not thought about, but they can be a great driving force for you. Don't waste that. If you've got people telling you that, don't waste that energy, because I know what that energy can give you. When someone tells you can't do it, I know that feeling, and it can get you a lot of places.
and taking those people, the people that are willing to like sleep on the couches and get in the mud and help, they're the ones that you owe everything to. When you do make it, because it's only a matter of when, in my opinion, if you're continuing, like if you just don't quit. I think there's huge value in that. I think a lot of people can take a lot from what you've created, not just in fishing, but in life in general. And I find like a lot of, and you were dead right in saying like a lot of the tournaments and stuff here, like you reached the pinnacle of that and you won 10 tournaments, 5 tournaments, whatever. Then what? And then like there's so much more to be done, in my opinion. And it's those people like yourself that look further down the road and like, oh yeah, I could go. America's very hard. Like I don't know what to do, anything like that. Or you can just do what you did and go, I love it too much, I'm going. And then I'll figure the rest out later. They're the people that build things, I think. And I think you'll leave a legacy regardless of when you stop fishing or not. Whereas the other people that reach the pinnacle and then a pinnacle of whatever they're doing and then stop and in Australia and all that, then they just taper off and become irrelevant over time. Whereas I think like you being the first Aussie over there, the first Aussie that's won an elite tournament, I think you'll leave a legacy. And I think you've opened the door for now young people coming into the tournament scene and all that sort of stuff, that going to the States and competing at that international elite level stuff is not unreachable, you know what I mean? And I think there's a huge value in that from a young guy coming up, because like there wasn't a lot of that when I was younger, of the internet, or as you would agree, like the internet wasn't around and all that sort of stuff. So do you have like a message or like a mantra for young people coming up that want to sort of push themselves in the tournament scene?
Yeah, well, you just got to, I tell kids in the US this. I'm like, if I can do it, because they think it's impossible. And I'm like, you live in America, you're born here. Like, if I can do it, you obviously can do it. And so that's all I need to know is it's possible. So there's some young guys, Tommy Wood, he's going to have a crack. He's been over. He won as a co-angler already. We've got some amazing fishermen, and like in America now there's college fishing, there's high school fishing, there's big opportunities. And for the young guys looking, all you got to do is like, I'm a kid from Toowoomba and I'm where I'm at, I'm living my dream, I'm doing what I love. And so all you need to do is like know that it's possible. So look at me, say he did it, well that means I can do it. I'm not superhuman, I'm not different to anyone, I just have a passion, I love what I do, and I do it the right way, and I just keep getting up no matter how many times I get knocked down, and that's all there is to it.
It's pretty simple when you strip it right back and you just do what you need to do the right way. It's like that's all there is to it, really, and it's just not stopping. It's impressive. What's next for you while you're here, and then when you get home, what's the first thing you're getting into?
Yep. So a couple more days fishing with Jack and Ian, and hopefully catch a meter cod. That's the goal while we're down here. But honestly, if we don't catch anything, it's just been incredible. Love being down here in Victoria, New South Wales, and just fishing for Murray cod. It's been incredible. I get home, have 4 more days with my family, and say goodbye to them, and then we fly to Brisbane up to Spokane and spending Christmas with Kayla's family. But once I'm back in the US, it's like getting my new boat prepped, getting all the sponsors and everything signed, squared away, boat wraps, tackle, just getting prepped for the season. And it's a month and a half of like heavy. We rig a boat every single year, so you get a new boat, new electronics, everything every year, and you have to dial it in, better than the last one, and getting wrap designs and locking in sponsors and just getting the year ahead. And that's what I've been doing for the last couple of months. But it'll be like all the fine tuning stuff, and then be ready to go for early February, and we're away again.
Holy, the sheer scale of things over there blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like a brand new $multi-$100,000 bass boat every year with the best of the best everything.
Yep.
It's incredible.
It's pretty cool.
But yeah, that's why those tournaments are internationally respected.
Yep.
And that's why those trophies are worth so much, more than the monetary value.
Yeah.
Cool. I suppose I better let you get some sleep, man. I really appreciate you making the time, taking the effort, and it was a great conversation, and I wish you all the best in the following years to come on the tournament scene. I'll be watching closely. So
I appreciate it. It's been good, mate. It's been good to catch up. Good to talk to you, and thanks for reaching out.
Hope you get that metery.
Yep. Ready to go. It's up to Jack.
He'll do it. If anyone can do it, he can.
He's the man.
Thanks heaps, mate.
See ya.